Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing my sister's February 2022 bullet journal setup. The layouts and the setup are going to be beginner friendly and easy to make, paired with quite a sweet theme for the month of February. So let's begin creating this monster milkshake themed BuJo setup, starting with the cover page. I will be using these Tombow brush pens and Crayola super tips for the illustrations, but you can absolutely use any brush pens or markers you have on hand. Also, I decided to use some of these handmade coffee stained papers left that I used from my January bullet journal setup. I cut out one of them to create this rectangular sheet with round corners that is smaller to this page and attach it here with an adhesive tape. Since we're going to draw on top of this handmade paper, I think adhesive tape would be a better choice instead of using a liquid glue that will make the paper wrinkly. You can also use a double-sided tape or any wrinkle-free glue. I already sketched out the illustration with a pencil, so I will just go over it again and outline it with a pen. After that, it's time to color it in. I started coloring the jar with a couple shades of pink. I'm using this blush Tombow brush pen to color the whole jar first, and then this pink Crayola super tip to give shadows behind the drip. Then I'm using the blush Tombow again to add another layer to the bottom with a much thicker layer to the right side of the jar to give more depth to it and to also demonstrate where the light hits the illustration. Then we're coloring the chocolate syrup drip here. You can also play around with different colors for this one and maybe think about how you would like your own milkshake to be. Now let's work on the toppings of this milkshake. We have a donut underneath this strawberry whipped cream topped with waffle, wafer sticks, macaron, cherry, and then there is also a heart candy, which is a little Valentine's-y. In my own February bullet journal setup that I posted a few days ago, I mentioned that you can use brush pens for the illustrations to achieve almost the same effect with watercolor. Although brush pens have tendencies to leave uneven strokes when layered, and even if I'm not doing a floral illustration here as an example, I hope you were able to get what I was trying to explain in that video, where you will just have to use a lighter tone first for the base and then add layer to it to darken or to intensify some parts of the illustration. After that, I'm adding some more highlights to the illustration using a white gel pen and a little bit more detail to it with a thin fine liner. I was thinking about where to write the monthly title here, but then I decided to write it on the very top of this as if it is part of the presentation of this milkshake itself. And that's finally it for this very delightful monster gourmet hyper milkshake, or whatever we may call it. And then let's move on to the left side of this spread for a very simple quote page. I picked up the same blush Tombow brush pen to draw a zigzag-like stroke as a background. On top of it, I'm writing the quote that says, "When life gets tough, shake it." I wrote the first line in my regular handwriting, and then I'm using the same font that I used in my January setup for the second line. So that completes this whole cover spread. Both pages contrasts each other perfectly, but let's move on to set up the next spread. I started by gluing some smaller pieces of the same handmade coffee stained paper. The longer one will be for her goals section, and then the smaller one for notes. I'm creating a different layout for the monthly instead of the usual calendar layout. I've seen this being used by a lot in the community, so I think it would be nice to let my sister give it a try. So I drew 28 horizontal brush strokes for the whole month on both sides of the pages. Then I wrote the dates on the left side of each stroke. On top, I'm writing February in a glance, and then a mini calendar above the goals section. Now let's do another illustration here, and this time it will be a smaller illustration of a monster milkshake. I also made the base of the jar square here and then added different toppings like marshmallows, cookies, and a slice of strawberry. If you remember, this looks alike with the June milk carton theme that I did for my sister as well. I think I've been doing a lot of baking and food themes in her setups, and it's something she really does enjoy. On the space to the right will be used to track her habits. The layout is very simple. I just drew the boxes with 7x4 spaces, very straightforward, and the habit titles on top of each. And there we have our monthly spread with a simple calendar and a glance and habit tracker. The last spread we are setting up here is her first weekly spread. I'm doing a horizontal weekly layout this time. For the days, I'm writing them in these square papers that I pre-cut already. Then I placed them on the sides opposite to each other. And by the way, all the supplies are listed in the video description. My sister is currently using her Archer and Olive dot grid notebook, and if you would like to try one out in the future, I have a discount code for you to use that is Cherise10 for 10% off whenever you order from their website. I also provided the link below. On top, I wrote week 5 on a pink brush background. I wish I used a thicker pen for this. I just realized it while editing the video. You can almost barely see it on the screen, especially if it's zoomed out. And then I'm also writing another mini calendar over here on the top that is quite spaced out than the one we have from the monthly spread. If you are not a fan of having a lot of white spaces, you can also decorate that, maybe adding some more doodles or washi tapes. And then for this area here, we are doing one last drawing of a monster milkshake. At this point, I actually forgot to outline the illustration with a pen first, as how I did in the first couple of drawings, but that's okay as well. You can either color the illustration first and outline it, and vice versa, and that is fine. So here I made the colors different from the other drawings to have some dynamics. I used a yellow color for the syrup. You can also see that inside the jar is a double flavored milkshake. Then there is also a chocolate bar and an ice cream cone for the toppings. Since we have a lot of white spaces around the illustration, I thought of adding the same pink brush background to it. When I added it, I thought maybe I should have made it rectangular instead, but when I tried to make the strokes balanced from each side, I noticed the uneven and streaky effect which happens when adding layers using brush pens, so I stopped myself and just left it like that. But yeah, that is finally all for this simple February 2022 bullet journal setup for my sister. I think a lot of you will like the cover page the most, of course. I find myself making more effort to the cover pages because I personally find it helpful to set the mood for the month. And my sister also get excited to start a new month with a nice cover page along with simple and functional monthly spreads for her tasks and goals. I hope you enjoyed this February plan with me video. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. And if you're new here and want to see more bullet journal, painting, and art related videos, I recommend subscribing to the channel so you will be updated whenever I post a new video. Have a lovely month ahead and I will see you in my next one. Bye everyone!